In our society, people without bias. Tell me. I didn't bring up my phone though. That's what it is. Oh, I did. The things that you don't know. People don't see nobody gonna run me. Nobody gonna run me. That's a party we got. Come on, gun. Point against me. Exactly as I see it. A political enemy and can run my life for me. Never. Tell them for me, no dice. I go eat lice. I go grow old sitting in the cold, not me. Beat me. I gonna have to bury me. Tell them I say I was born on St. Croix. I gonna die on St. Croix. Nobody gonna run me from where we come from. Lord, this is sweet. Um, yeah.
Hi, you're tuned in to Just Jamila. You know the rules. I talk about what I want to talk about until you call to change the subject. So call 773-0390 or 773-0490 and get to know and talk to me because I'm Just Jamila.
Yeah. Yeah, let me go, right? Let me go. Right. Good morning. Good morning. If you guys are listening, you're tuned into 970 AM, my absolutely favorite audience in the universe. Those of you who have been rocking and rolling with me from when the Jameses had owned the radio station. That's how long I've been doing radio, right? So I want to say good morning to the 970 AM WSTX radio listeners, the diehard, those of you who still have a transistor radio in your kitchen with an antenna and does be analog finding me on the dial. So good morning to you guys, and to the rest of you listening to me at WSTXradio.com or following me on the Facebook page, soon to be the YouTube channel. I appreciate all of you. Good morning, RJ Joinery. Good morning. And it is a wonderful Saturday morning here in the Virgin Islands. It's Saturday, January 10th, and I am so happy to be back live and in the studio talking to you guys. Yes, I'm glad to be back here in the studio with you. I felt I needed the time away, but Lord, I don't miss St. Croix when I can. Like, yeah, I just be ready to come back, but yeah. And then I miss my son immensely, but I'd be like, I wish he could live here, but he can't, but it's okay. We'll work through that. Jen, the phone line's ringing already? No. Oh, they're blinking up in here. Why are they blinking up in here? Oh, okay. Okay, so me need to worry about them. Okay, good. Thank you, Jesus. All right. We have lots and lots of things to talk about, lots of things to catch up on. I want to, before I begin though, I tell you, coming from a big family, even coming from a small family, if you have cousins are like, God's way of ensuring that you always have friends and you always have people who care about you and who have your back and will roll with you on a drop of a dime. And I want to say happy birthday to one such person in my life. If I was to receive a phone call from him now and he said, Jamie, and I'm gonna be like, I gonna answer and I'm be like, we rolling. And if I call him, it is the same response. And so if you guys see my cousin out in St. Thomas today, when we were younger, people actually thought like we were dating, like people who used to like him used to be like, oh, you bring a girl from St. Croix. And, you know, I don't know why Ray would not tell them like we are his cousins and stuff like that, but Ray would never offer explanation to any girl he was interested in at the time. He would just let him roll. And it's like, Ray, why would you not just tell her as your cousin, or, you know, we's family? But if you guys see Ray husband out and about today, tell him Jamie says, and you know, he's allowed to call me Jamie. One of the few people who still actually calls me Jamie. He never calls me by my full name. He just calls me Jamie, and that's how I know is Ray. If you guys see Ray husband out and about, tell him I love him to the moon and back. That is my buddy. That's my friend. He is fun. He is smart. He's handsome, and he is like the sweetest person ever. He's just a big teddy bear. I just love me some Ray. And so he got first, I got next. And so happy birthday, Ray. I love you, love you, love you, love you. All right. Bye. I needed to add that part. All right. So now that I've gotten the birthdays out, and I also want to say happy birthday to my buddy, my friend, you know, to Miss Kimba Martin Morgan. If you guys see Kimba out and about, her birthday is actually tomorrow. Today's the 10th. Today's the 9th. Kimba birthday is tomorrow. Kimba birthday is today. If Kimba birthday ain't today, it's tomorrow. And if ain't today or tomorrow is Monday. Same thing for Ray. It's between the 10th and the 12th, both of them. That way I don't get in any trouble. So if you guys see Kimba out this weekend up until Monday, tell Kimba I say happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. And I love her to the moon and back as well. All right. So there's some things happening. Pursuant to the Revised Organic Act of the Virgin Islands, the governor is slated to give his State of the Territory address on Monday coming, which would be Monday, January 12th. However, as the case would be, typically they don't deliver the State of the Territory address in accordance with the law, and as such, the legislature will be convening in session on Monday, and there will more than likely be a measure asking to allow, they will pass a law stating that the State of the Territory address can be delivered at another date, because the Revised Organic Act says it shall be delivered unless there's a law stating different. So every time you have to change it, when you go into on the date supposed to happen, you have to actually pass a law to be in compliance with the Revised Organic Act. A lot of people never did it. I think it only started to happen maybe in the 34th legislature with Fred Gregory when she was because the law is the law, and the law, if you hire me to work, I can tell you what the law said. And so legal counsel then advised that the appropriate way was to pass a measure that says, because typically you would just they would just say that the State of the Territory would be at another time. You wouldn't actually pass a law. If I'm incorrect, somebody can feel free to correct me. But it was until recent iterations of the legislature that they actually passed a law that said, okay, we're going to do it on this day. Typically they just extended. What they would do is pound the gavel on the Monday and recess. So technically, whenever you call the State of the Territory back in, whenever the governor came, whatever date you agreed to, you'll be rising out of recess. And, that's another way to have done it, which is how they did it. Or you just you know, we know you incoming, just pass the law and you know, stop wasting the people time, ponging the gavel for recess and going into recess and all of that stuff. But yeah, so that's what's happening. So the legislature will be in session on Monday. There's some measures on the agenda, light agenda, nothing crazy. The nomination for the Superior Court Judge Pedro Williams in the St. Thomas St. John district. I will say that this Governor Brian, in his lame duck governorship, you know, he's stacking the bench. You know, and if people here were concerned about stacking of the bench, people would be like, okay, we're not hearing these nominations. Let the next governor fill the spaces on the bench. But we don't get into the politics like that here in the territory. So he's able, in his quote unquote lame duck governorship, still continue to name people that continue to be vetted and sit on the bench, and you know, will be on the bench. You know, if all of the vacancies occur now, you know, that's occurring, and he stacked the bench, the incoming governor won't have anybody to name if the judges do their 6-year full term. But that's what happens, and that's where we are. So his nomination is up for consideration on Monday. All right, so that's that. I want to offer condolences to the family and friends of the woman from Minnesota who was visiting the territory and unfortunately succumbed to her shark bite injury. And while sharks biting humans, and we coin it the shark attacking humans, and you know, out of respect for the family, you know, we can have that discussion another time. I don't know if the word attack is the right word. You know, I have a healthy fear for the ocean, a healthy respect for the ocean. I'm going into their domain, and you know, animals are animals, and when you enter their kingdom and they behave how they're supposed to behave, I don't think as human we should be saying that they're behaving outside of what nature calls them to do. But that's another discussion for another day. And I you know, I want to thank the gentleman who was staying at the hotel that you know risked his self to go to assist the woman who clearly was in super distress, and assisted her until our emergency medical services arrived on the scene. I also want to thank that man for clearly stating, not just for Virgin Islanders to hear, but for the world to hear, that our emergency response system came almost immediately and responded very, very quickly. There is oftentimes a negative perception as to the response time of emergency medical services. And while I understand that we have challenges, and there are times when there may be shortages, and the EMS and the fire services, now under the fire services, can't respond as quickly and as timely as all of us would like, especially if the situation is close to us. It was good to have somebody who is not vested or has an opinion about our territory one way or the other, is here or lives here, to be influenced one way or the other, to clearly state that our emergency medical services responded quickly and that they immediately got to treating the lady. I know that there has been immense chatter surrounding the quality of care the individual received from our medical staff at the Wang F. Louis Hospital. And as a mother who had a child that was shot and was on the brink of death, I will defend those nurses and doctors in the emergency room that work tirelessly, many times under strenuous, tenuous circumstances, to provide the best care possible to individuals who present at our hospitals. While I will agree, and I have said that we need to focus on our hospitals, and that our hospitals is going to be one of those issues going into this general election, that I think we have to have a clear and definitive plan on how we're going to address the issues at the hospital from our candidates. While I know we have all of these challenges, I need for the public and for the world knows this, but I need for Virgin Islanders to know that there was not, short of God coming and laying his healing hands on that lady, there was no hospital in the world. And I would bet dollars to pennies, and I know I don't bet, that could have saved that woman. From all accounts, she was in the water. Somebody had to swim out to get her, bring her back in. So as quickly as he may have been able to swim out to her, he had to actually swim with her back in, which takes a minute to do. And I wasn't on island. I don't know how the waters was in Frederiksted, and depending on how the water was, I don't know if he was swimming against the current. I don't know how the waves were blowing, but it would have taken a minute for him to get her back in to shore. Like he said, he heard screaming from inside of his hotel room, so he had to get down. When your brain register, he may not have heard the first scream, he may not have heard the second scream, and maybe it's the continuous screaming that actually allowed his brain to register that somebody's screaming. So we don't know the timeline involved. And while I understand that so many of us are frustrated with our hospital system, and we've all heard of horror stories about individuals presenting to our hospital not maybe receiving the best treatment, or the hospital not giving them a diagnosis that was consistent with another diagnosis that they got when they went off island. In this case, I don't think that there was anything based on just common sense that the hospital could have done. We have major arteries flowing, and I only know this because of how my son was injured. And if a major artery is blown and shattered, you bleed out. If you don't get care, like within seconds, you bleed out. And so while I understand that we all have been and have experienced, or know somebody who have experienced trauma from visiting our hospitals in the current state that they're in, to immediately blame our hospital for this lady's untimely passing is just unfair. It totally is unfair. And I needed to say that because so many people, comment all over instead of offering condolences and thanking the person, the EMS who had to have done everything to try to save on the way up to the hospital, instead of thanking the people at the hospitals for, attempting to deal with what they were confronted with. We are here saying, oh, our hospital killed the woman. No, we didn't. And please stop with that narrative. We already have marks on our backs. And when we begin to become our own, it's like we have the enemy within syndrome. It's like anything that we can do to cut off our own nose to spite our face, we rush in to do. And I'm just going to leave it there. Our hospital system is flawed. It has major issues. However, they're good people in terms of nurses and doctors. I think that there's too many people in all kind of nonsensical administrative and support roles that you can do away with so that you can hire doctors. And we have a management issue where you have all of these fluff and duff people wearing high heel shoes, click-clacking around the building and ain't saving a life and getting paid a lot of money, and the doctors and the nurses ain't able to provide services because they're not getting supplies. I think that there should be an audit of the positions that's required and get rid of a lot of those administrative positions. But when you start to talk about that, the first thing, and some of the same politicians and some of the same want to be politicians that want to argue about fixing the hospitals, when you come up with a mechanism and say, listen, we're going to curtail all of these extra non-revenue generating positions, and we're going to focus on building medical staff and associate what it's called associate health staff to improve the quality of care that people get when they come to our hospitals. The first thing they'll say is, oh lad, but you're taking bread out of people's mouth. But you put in bread in people's mouth and these people ain't giving nothing back to the community. They're not providing a service to the community, and they're there for literally, some people go to work for 8 hours, don't have nothing to do, and they collect a paycheck. They don't produce anything. If you ask them at the end of the week, can you show me your work product for the week? They can't produce anything because they haven't done anything, but they get paid all of this money and we're okay with it. This is the year of Jamila calling out positions that are unnecessary. You can start, some people can say, start with yours. We can start with mine. I good. So I needed to say that. Okay, let's see. Who's calling me? Good. Okay. Good morning, Bugsy Siegel. Good morning, Anita Davila. Good morning, Auntie Gigi. Good morning, Mommy. Hey, good morning, Terry. How are you? Terry Encarnacion. That's my peoples. But the long and short is that sometimes we become our own worst enemy. And if we know somebody, we're like, oh my God, we need to. No, we have to get serious about government. If we want to improve situations here in the territory, tough decisions gonna be made, and we can't be afraid to make tough decisions. We have to be able to make a decision, live with the decision, and when you take bread out of their mouth, they're gonna go find bread someplace else. That's why you have to create a private sector. So many times we do everything for the public sector, forgetting that we need to build a private sector so that we can wean some people out of the public sector realm and put them in the private sector. All right. Let me see. All right. I have some stuff. I have some stuff because I'm talking about us not having pride in ourselves, us being our own worst enemy. And I want to tell you something, like I vex. Like I a little bit upset. No, not even a little bit. Let me not lie. I a lot of plenty upset. So let me read this story. Y'all can follow me on the story. I am going to go to my WTJX app on my phone, which I just did for those of you. Let me show y'all, because somebody, you guys are forward people in this wall. Somebody tell me the other day, oh, we don't hear you saying that you read it from WTJX and you don't show us where you're going. But I tell you how to get there. I don't understand. But let me see. I have anything I can see on my phone. I don't know. I don't even know if you can see the screen of my phone. So this is my phone. Okay. So these are my apps, the apps that come with the phone, and then the apps that I added. And as y'all can see, I don't have, oh, I don't need this app. So, Okay. So I'm going to touch my WTJX app, which I did. Then I'm going to go to news. It's on news. And then here you go. I'm going to read this story. There you go. It's written by Tom Ader. Historic preservation to meet with Trudy Fenster over her unapproved construction in Christiansted Town. And then there's a picture, right? It says, and under the picture, it says half of the stairway along the sidewalk on Church Street in the historic district of downtown Christiansted has been enclosed with bricks without prior approval from the St. Croix Historic Preservation Committee, prompting the committee to stop the work and schedule a discussion with the property owner during its next virtual meeting on Thursday. And now let me read the story. The St. Croix Historic Preservation Committee has acted against unauthorized construction taking place along a sidewalk in front of a building in downtown Christiansted, where a business owner has enclosed a section of the stairway and erected a concrete planter without approval. Colette Woodson Burgess, chair of the St. Croix Historic Preservation Committee of the Virgin Islands Historic Preservation Commission, said the committee reached out to the contractor about the sidewalk construction. They're supposed to not continue any work, she said. Burgess emphasized that the matter is between the property owner and the commission, though she acknowledged that multiple community members have complained about the construction in the historic district. We're trying to rectify this problem, she said, noting that the property owner is now aware construction on the sidewalk is not allowed without prior approval. We're not there to make people look bad or to give them a hard time. We're there to help. Attorney Trudy Fenster, who owns the building located on the corner of Customs and Church Streets, failed to appear at a scheduled St. Croix Historic Preservation Committee meeting on December 11, 2025, despite being invited to attend, Burgess said. She said commissioners attempted to reach Fenster by phone and text during a meeting, but received no response. Burgess said Fenster has been formally invited to attend the commission's next virtual meeting scheduled for Thursday, adding that Fenster agreed to participate. We're going to present everything to her on Thursday, what she did, what she shouldn't have done, and what we are proposing she would need to do going forward, she said. In addition to enclosing half the stairway with bricks, the concrete planter has been erected under one of the arches between two columns. The planter is supported by cinder blocks, which have also been installed under two other arches, as well as atop the bricks blocking the stairs. Only one concrete planter has been built. Now, all of you that want to, again, cut off your nose to spite the face. The sidewalks in Christiansted Town are literally under those buildings. Those are sidewalks. And from my understanding of the law, that's the public access sidewalk. You can't cut off the access. You can't, unless it was already enclosed, you can't block the walkway. That's how you walk. The street is right there. You can't tell somebody they can't walk under your, we call it gallery. You can't walk under the gallery. It's on the road. The government has what's the proper term? Egress to the road, easement to the road, because that's a sidewalk. I don't understand, and and the reason I'm irritated is because Attorney Trudy Fenster is supposed to know better. She's supposed to know better. She worked at the legislature of the Virgin Islands. She works with law. And it'll say ignorance of the law is no excuse. So even if she claims that she didn't know, which I would not believe because of her work experience, when the commission invited you in December, you just choose not to go. If a judge said, I invite you to the court on this day, you're going to go. The blatant disrespect of the commission that was created, and don't get me wrong, me and the Historic Preservation Commission don't get along most times, because sometimes I think that they're a little bit too stuck in the mud. But in this instance, what she doing look bad. It look bad. It don't look good. It don't preserve our history, our culture. It look tacky. We can't do that. And we need to stop allowing people to come from where they come from, to come to tell us how our towns are supposed to look. And when they buy property in the historic district, they just want to disregard what our laws are. It doesn't work like that, Trudy Fenster. You know better. So do better. How are you going? That is a steep sidewalk. That railing, people will hold on to go up and go down them steps. And then you blocking, you putting in concrete planters. What it is what they want, what she wants to do is she really wants to enclose that whole corner so nobody can walk by her building. You know, let's just tell the truth. That's what she wants to do. I dare say I, Jamila Afifa, could not go to the island of Jamaica and buy a historic building in Jamaica and decide that although I have been working and living in Jamaica and I may be aware of their laws, decide I'm going to spit in the face of the Jamaican authorities and disregard their invitation to attend and continue to build how I want to build in Jamaica. So why you feel like you could come here and do that here? It don't make no sense. Do better. And, you know, some of these Historic Preservation Commission members don't have strength for who they want. Because when the man, you know, and that's why I like that man, Peter Zelke. That's his name, right? Peter Zelke. Lad, he'll tell me his name every time I meet him. Peter Zelke, right? That's why I like him. He come here and he respects our laws. He works within the confines of our laws, whether he like it, whether he don't like it, whether they're trying to shake it down or they ain't trying to shake it down. He don't walk within the confines of our laws. When he rebuilt those buildings in Christiansted Town, he did what he needed to do to keep that footprint in. And look how beautiful those structures is. You will see he putting up no planters to block people from coming in. That one Maria Shabbat building that she Miss Schuster them building that she trying to enclose. Come on, if you buy the building, have respect for our towns, our architecture, the archways. You don't have up your board running for long, so nobody don't know what you're doing in there. And then when you take it off, is this foolishness you doing breaking our laws? She need to, the only solution is for them to dig out whatever they put there, put back the steps and leave the archways open, because we don't have no enclosed archways in that historic district like that. So Attorney Fenster, do right, because we ain't gonna go to Jamaica and do that. So don't come here to do it. That's wrong. And people are afraid to tell people when they come and disrespect you that you've disrespected us. And don't get me wrong, the historic preservation sometimes does go a little too far. But in this instance, they need to make her take it out, because how you don't put concrete block, it look bad. If I ain't been in Christiansted, God, it look bad. It look tacky. It look bad. Okay? Get people coming here doing what they want. No kind of respect for the Virgin Islands. Piss me off. Yeah, and it look, you know, I go watch it. Any eye in Christiansted Town, go and watch it. You know, she trying to block it off. It looks so bad and tacky. But you know what? My grandmother always used to tell me, you know, my grandmother used to say, even if you come from the project, you could dress like you have class, and your class ain't something you could buy, and neither is taste. So on that note, I hope that the Historic Preservation Commission gives you the same amount of grief they was trying to give somebody who was complying with their laws, because y'all don't have strength for who I want to have strength for. When it was a white man, but the white man comply with everything. Trudy ain't a white man. She's a black female attorney. We gonna tell her what she do right. No, don't do that. Tell her take it down. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And she wrong. Make her right her wrong. All right. And I'm going to stay on it. And if the Historic Preservation is afraid to do the job, then we will apply pressure to the Historic Preservation Commission. You can't just block off the walkway in Christiansted Town just so. People don't have to walk in the street while you're doing your construction, and now you're trying to block off the sidewalk permanently so nobody don't have no way from Company Street to walk down to King Street without going in the road. They out of order, man. They all the way out of order. Now, if I say what I really want to say, I'm gonna say, Jamila, you're wrong, but I don't be paying attention. I don't pay attention to everything. I gonna tell her, soon we ain't gonna be able to say anything in the Virgin Islands belong to the Virgin Islands, because on Facebook, your favorite white politician, Mr. Warren Mosler, he don't know who, if he wants to run for president of the United States, governor of the state he come from, or come down to the Virgin Islands to make mockery here. Now he posts on Facebook that his party, his Virgin Islands Green Party, is looking for USVI residents to run for the Senate. We have a winning platform and invite those who wish to serve. Message me, Warren Mosler, on Facebook if you're interested in learning more about this. So he gonna create a whole party, the Green Party here in the Virgin Islands. He's so confused. One time he was a Republican, next time he was an independent. Like, make up your mind. It's like you're the alphabet soup of political parties. I'm just gonna say, he's like the alphabet soup. He don't know what he is. He's confused. Now he's going to throw his money behind a Green Party candidate. And I'm gonna tell you something. Mark my words, on this day, January 10th, 2026, any bet, I am going to tell you, there's going to be a female who used to be, I can give too much hints and people will say, and then they ain't gonna want to do it. But I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna get somebody who just as confused that will run under that party. Remember, Jamila tell you so. I mean, listen, and people commenting, people commenting. Yeah. No, what? No, me say nothing. Oh, somebody calling me?
No, we have something else.
Oh, top of the hour. All right. Well, we're going to the top of the hour. We need to pay attention, because while we have the Democratic Party, and we're going to talk about them in 1 second just now, while we have the Democratic Party who is trying to, create a smoke-filled back room to determine which Virgin Islander serves and gets on the ballot, we have somebody with money who all they care about is controlling our government for their friends, going to push his millions and millions of dollars behind of a candidate creating a party here in the Virgin Islands. If y'all think you don't have a lot of them here, you lie. You need to put your head on a swivel and pay attention. Let's go.
Stand up for decency. Stand up for compassion. Stand up for respect. Stand up for your community. Stand up for your future. Stand up for the Virgin Islands. WSTX FM 100, the soul of the Caribbean.
We good? Okay. All right, good. Hi, we're back. If you guys are tuned in, you're at 9:70 a.m. on your radio dial. My absolutely favorite audience to be tuned into. I am Jamila, just Jamila, and in 2026, we're calling out the BS. I'm sorry. This may be my last year on radio. I'm really thinking about pivoting off of radio completely. But I'm looking for somebody to come in that that shares the love and the passion for the Virgin Islands as I do, so that I can pass this baton to my cousin Mima. Said my hair look cute. I had a two bull plait and I lose it out because if I come on the radio with a 2 bull plait, it didn't look good. They were messy, so I lose them out. But thank you, Mima. Thank you, Auntie Gigi. And good morning, and Nai favored. I've been trying to get Nai to come up here. That's Naisha. So that she can, because since she moved home, I've been telling her to come up so that she can, you know, start talking to you guys. I'm looking for some young females to be able to pass the radio mic baton to people who are equally as passionate about the territory, about the Virgin Islands as I am. You know, I don't want to be the sole voice. Your voice matters. And so I want to be able to get somebody to come up here. So you'll be seeing in this year that I will be having in the studio with me, you know, I will be having various guest hosts with me on Saturdays, and I'm restarting the Wednesdays and on Wednesdays. And so, yeah. All right. So if you're interested, I know sometimes sharing a platform with me, you know, I have paid the ultimate political price in that I have been blacklisted, but I Banya, I running, as you can see, I'm gonna stay fat. So they ain't gonna starve me to death. Somebody gonna feed me. You know, but I'm looking for what the Marines will say, a few, the brave, the proud. So I'll be looking. So all right, so yeah. Oh, Nice says she thinks she coming this year. You know how long I've been harassing this girl? Okay. So we'll see. But yeah, we're gonna get some people in here and get some people trained up. Yeah. So we can pass the baton. That's what you're supposed to do. You can't gatekeep. You have to pass the baton, and you have to share your knowledge and share your platform and allow others the opportunity. Talking about gatekeeping. There's a bill on the legislature on Monday 36-0134, I believe is the bill number. It's sponsored by Senator Maurice James and Clifford Joseph, and it allows government employees to run for elected office without having to use up their leave until 30 days before the election. So that works out. I think that to the there was so many, and I was a little bit, you know, when Senator James first brought this up last term, you know, and I saw that it was pro forma, I immediately ran to who I was working for, and I was like, listen, you have to sign on this bill. You know, there was, you know, the bill still needed some work, but I was like, hey, you know, that's what the amendment process is for. And during that first hearing, back in the 35th legislature, I was just so disheartened to hear so many people that ran for office and you know, were successful, some after the fact, some immediately, didn't understand that just because you suffered and you had to leave your job doesn't mean that you have to make it equally as hard for the next group of candidates and the next group of people. I think that in life, the role and function should be to make you know, as parents, we want to make the quality of life better for the children that we have than how our life was. And I think that as leaders, when you had to, you know, build up leave and sacrifice not getting a paycheck to run for elected office, get yourself in debt, whatever it is, whatever financial sacrifices you and your family had to make, that when you have the opportunity to make it easier so that nobody goes through that same kind of hardship, that you would jump at the chance to help. Instead, you have gatekeepers, people wondering, oh, they're gonna be politicking and government time. And I'm like, look at the hypocrites. Some of you to use the same people who would want to run. You use people in government agencies to help fire your campaign. And are you worried when are you calling them during the government time to ask them to help? Oh, you could design a flyer for my food sale. You don't worry about that when it's benefiting you now that you're a senator. But now that somebody wants to run, you're concerned if they're going to be designing a food fair flyer on the government dime. Stop being a hypocrite. You have to make sure that you make it better for, and so that candidates don't face the same hardship, because then all you have are those people who have means that Warren Mosler could go pay off and say, you know, I want to run under your party and say, well, listen, I'll run for you, but you're gonna have to pay all my bills. You know, nobody then you're gonna be beholden to Warren Mosler. That's what you're asking people to do when you put these roadblocks and these stumbling blocks and you attempt to keep who can get on the ballot. And we need to stop. We need to make it easier for people's names to be on the ballot, not harder. And I want to thank Senator James and Senator Joseph for riding the wave and staying true and steady in making sure that the bill get heard, you know, by will or by force, you know, and once you have a second on the floor, which they would have had, you know, then vote it down, you know, vote it down and see how the public will respond to gatekeeping from the institution. So I'm glad that the senators are on board. There was one amendment that I do agree with, that I think was really necessary. And you know, I want to thank Alma Francis Heiliger from St. Thomas, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger from St. Thomas. You know, there was discussions and several people were preempted. I know Senator Bialy was preempted, Senator Joseph was preempted, and Senator Francis Heiliger had the amendment. She put it in from long, but and it was a necessary amendment, and that amendment just says that the month prior to the election, you have to take leave. And I think that most people can live with that, because that month right before the election, you're focusing on, you won't be able to focus on the work. You know, you would have already known who the Democrats putting up on their slate, and that last month before the election, you're strategizing as to how much ads you're gonna run, the events where you have to go present yourself gonna be mounting, and then you know, and then you know, all of the logistic works that go into getting people out to the polls and all of that. So that was a very good amendment that was offered and adopted. So the bill is going to be heard on Monday. And so for those of you who work for the government of the Virgin Islands who may be interested in running for office, that bill is going to be heard on Monday. Make sure you call Government House and lobby to have it signed. That's and you know, it's so amazing that and this is me, Jamila Russell speaking, that you know, the chair of the Democratic Party, because Carol Buck, Carol, you need to call in because I have a couple of questions for you, right? Carol Buck, who's the chair of the party, and Nemi Williams, who's run sometimes, has run several times before, you know, they testified on the measure, on the need for moving this particular measure forward. But the Democratic Party as a party, so while you're advocating for the ease of people to be able to get on the ballot and not use time, on the flip side of this coin, you have the Democratic Party coming up with all kind of rules and regulations to prevent people from running, which don't really make no sense, because if you are a party that's supposed to be open to people and your arms are open to people, if you can register to vote, like say the common filing date is in May, and you decide you've never been a Democrat, you've never even register to vote, and you align yourself with the Democratic Party, and in April you go to register, and you register as a Democrat, and you then decide, hey, I think I can be of service to the people and I want to run, and you pick up a ballot nomination form from the Board of Elections, and you want to run under the Democratic Party because you identify as a Democrat. The Democratic Party is saying, oh, hold up, you won't be able to qualify because you have to be in good standing. And so why are we creating roadblocks? And I think that, there's always this talk about, oh, people using the party banner to win, and when they're done, they turn the face on the party. We need sometimes, Carol Collin? Oh, good. Wait, will I one day? Morning? No, it's a calls will be answered. We're lying one day. Carol, where you there? Hold on. Hello? Hey.
Hey, Jamila.
Good morning. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Holidays done that.
No, the holiday. You can say happy holidays until Martin Luther King Day.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
But Jamila, I'm begging your pardon this 2026. You spend your 2025 criticizing this very, very Democratic Party. And you did it, and no qualms. Are you a Democrat?
No.
Are you a Democrat?
No.
Are you a registered Democrat?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
No, full disclosure. Okay.
I've said so many times.
Although
everybody seems to wait, Carol, hold on. I need to check something because I went and redo my voter registration to get a new ID. Yeah, I need to. With my wallet. Jen, did I come upstairs with my wallet? I'm gonna tell you. I don't think I want to believe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I know I was an independent, and when I went, the girl asked me if I want to change back to a Democrat because they're gonna have a primary next year, and I don't know if I tell her go ahead and change me so I could vote in the primary. But I don't think so. I think I still are independent because I asked when is the last day I could come in to change it. So so I think I'm still an independent. But go ahead.
And I don't make it real because I mean one believe at the point. The Democratic Party, like any political party, is a brand. Okay? You spend like a lot of people, and we listened, and it was so true because we felt the effects of what you call party rating. Okay? I just going straight to the point of when you're talking about limiting access to the party. Crazy. No, we're not.
But you are in actuality. You are in actuality.
Can you just let me finish?
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead.
We're not. Our thing, if you want to run under this party banner, these are the things that you have to meet. These are the standards, right? And in furtherance to Judge Malloy's ruling, right? We want to determine that whoever run under our banner truly share our philosophy and will advance the party's mantra going forward, right? So we develop 4 things, okay? 4 easy things that any organization, whether it's the sororities, the fraternities, whoever, have the same kind of structure, right? Except that this is political, right? We did that. We ain't willy-nilly no more. We got structure to our organization, and we're trying to instill discipline. If you got a problem with that, so be it. But we got to protect our brand. We don't got people coming in our party, running under the banner, using up our resources and the value of the brand, getting elected, and then have nothing else to do with the quote-unquote Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands. That is it.
Okay.
That is all.
Okay.
That is it. That is all.
Okay, so now let me ask you a few questions. You say the resources of the Demo.
Yes.
Who that is? Oh, tell her she get my new number. She said what number she texted to. Give her my number. I don't know what she texted to. I didn't get nothing like that. She texts me. She texts somebody else. Yeah. Let me ask, you said the resources of the Democratic Party. Why am I getting a feedback? But does the Democratic Party provide any of their candidates financial resources to run in the election? And if so, let me just ask you, and if so, how much does the Democratic Party give to each candidate? And when is the last time the Democratic Party provided anybody on their slate the money? When was the last time that was done?
I'm going to preface my answer with this. Nobody who decides to run for election in any way is obligated to run under the Democratic Party banner. You got the freedom to run independent. I run remote. I run however which way you want to run. We're not compelling anybody to come and run. We want you to, but we're not compelling you to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, in the past, the party has given financial, and that's money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hard cash money to candidates. How much is it? Me can't tell you. I wasn't the state chair. I'm the state chair now, right? And I'm going to talk about now going forward.
Okay, so the answer to the question is you don't know. You can't answer. You don't know. If you don't know, you don't know. That's fine. So you don't know.
I can't tell you a dollar amount.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I know for a fact that it's happened.
Okay.
Okay. But what I'm going to tell you is this.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for the past year, right? My mouth shut with a committee called my executive committee, putting in place this infrastructure that requires tapping into a relationship that I built personally, being a DNC member, right, for over 20 odd years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a relationship that I made sure that I kept my eyes on, right? To make sure that for the first time ever in these Virgin Islands, the Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands is being financially supported by the DNC. So that's number one.
Okay.
So you can see our kind of things rolling out.
Okay. And let me ask you a question.
You talk about the fun run. Who you think being up for the fun run, recruiting and signing up people to young people to register to vote?
I didn't talk about the fun run. I wasn't here for that, so I didn't know. I didn't even know you had a fun run.
Well, you see, you're picking on Tuesday.
No. I didn't even know you had a fun run. I wasn't here. No. So I don't. You see, you're ready. You so want to be defensive. I didn't know. Yeah, you are, because you're picking and choosing. No, I asked you a simple question. Has the Democratic Party provided funding for candidates to run? You said no. So moving forward under your leadership, you're going to be financially supporting the candidates. Here's the next question. Do you think that it is appropriate at this time, because you just spoke to building a relationship with the DNC? Don't you think it would have been more prudent to have rolled out your new rules and regulations after you have established yourself as a party, rebranded and regained the trust of the people? But to do it simultaneously.
No, because we as a committee determined that we want to do this now.
It looked like I gonna tell you what the people on the street saying, because people act like they're afraid to tell you. The people on the street say y'all was doing this prior to the Epstein files being dropped. Y'all were creating these rules and regulations solely for the purpose of advancing one female elected politician to the governorship of the Virgin Islands. That's what people are saying.
I'm not people registered as Jamila.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing that down the street. I'm chasing that down the street.
Nobody is saying to chase it down, but what I'm saying is the trust is broken within the party, and in order to rebuild it, and in order
Jamila, you just told me you don't even know if you're a Democrat.
No. I tell you, I don't. I know. I told you. No, I told you. You see, Carol, don't mix my words. I told you I went to get the new ID. I said I went to get my ID, and I told the lady, and I told you I personally think I'm an independent, but I'm going to register as a Democrat to vote in our primary. And I think that everybody, I've done this as I've done before, and I will do again. I will tell everybody who's a registered independent to go and change their party affiliation to Democrat, to vote in a Democratic primary and then change it back.
Jamila, all I'm saying to you is this. The heat is on. The heat turn up, right? So everybody ain't antsy.
Me
right?
and Nancy.
So what's not going to happen? What's not going to happen, right? Is everybody who out there looking and talking about the party, all of a sudden it just blow my mind how people who have benefited from this Democratic Party in so many ways, right? The flip during the election cycle, and all of a sudden, the Democratic Party is the worst thing out. Now, let me just say this. Let me finish, and if you got one more question or so you want to ask me, that's fine. You think it's easy trying to restructure an organization that's been in existence for as long as this party has been, with the people, the strong personalities that are involved? You think that's an easy task? There's no way that we would have to wait or should have waited until after election to do what we have to do. Okay. Let me tell you something. Being affiliated with a national party means that we're fully engaged in every election cycle. That means we got to prepare, that means we got to recruit, and that means we got to train. That is not an easy thing to do.
And
okay?
And can I ask you something? And I'm going to ask you this, right? Because y'all acting as if the Democratic Party, people benefit from the Democratic Party. When the Virgin Islands needed the Democratic Party nationally, when the Democratic Party controlled the House, when the Democratic Party controlled the Senate, when the Democratic Party controlled the White House, and we needed our rum cover over bill to pass, did the Democratic Party answer the call of the people of the Virgin Islands? And that's a resounding no. So you can't be upset with the people you can't be upset with it. No. That was a rhetorical question. That was a rhetorical question. I didn't ask you that for you to answer. I was asking for myself to answer because it was a resounding no. Because we have it on file from the delegate to Congress that says that the Democratic Party cannot hold off. And I am saying you can't believe the Democrat. I'm talking about the national one. So telling us that being engaged and being trained and being involved in every election, how does that benefit the people of St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John?
You know something, Jamila, as a friend, right? As a friend and a fellow Crucian, and I want to tell you this. You know what you need to do?
Tell me.
You need to ask the delegates for Congress Safety Class to come on your show.
I don't ask her a question. I don't invite her. I don't invite her. I've already invited her.
We'll send her a letter inviting and ask her to come on your show.
I must do. Why should I do for her what I don't do for anybody else? She's special.
Well, okay, I know. You know something? I'm just trying to tell you that the best person who could answer your questions directly, who was directly responsible in that regard, and the issue that you talk about, the rum cover over, she's the person who you need to direct those questions to.
Well, I decided, and let me tell you why I asked you. You made the statement about you being affiliated with the Democratic Party. You have to be involved in every election, every training. You made that statement, and exactly. And I'm asking, and so let me rephrase my question. My question, and let me just rephrase it. The question is, what is the benefit as somebody who is now a registered independent? What is the benefit of joining the Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands that's affiliated with the National Democratic Party? What benefit does being involved or engaged with that political affiliation bring to the territory? And what has it brought to the territory?
No, me answering that question. Because then you're talking about elected people who get elected, right? Okay. And then ultimately, whether you're a senator or a delegate to Congress, the work of your office and the representation that you produce on behalf of the people should be what you're able to report
I think you didn't. That's not the question I asked. The question I asked is what benefit does being a part of the Democratic Party and affiliated nationally with the Democratic Party bring to the territory?
What you need to ask yourself is this, Jamila. How is it that the majority of candidates that run for office run under the Democratic Party banner? How is it that every single election the Democrats have primaries? That is what is the question. If the people in their estimation didn't think that there was value for running as a Democrat, and yet some of them do want to know what it means to be a Democrat and how to represent that, right? And some of them do try, whereas others don't. They just come, get elected, and they disappear. And that's a fact. You yourself have spoke about that on your radio show. Okay? So all I'm saying is that we try to read all of that back in and to make a sense of purpose with all of it so that we could say, yes, when I go down and I defend a senator or defend the governor, if they happen to be Democrats, at least I know in my defense, I feel good that a person attempted to represent the people of the Virgin Islands under the banner of the party, and whatever defense I put forward is with confidence. I know I'm doing it.
Okay,
Is that something happening now? Is that something that happened in the past? I don't think so.
Okay, but you deflected from the question. It's a very simple question. No, it's a very simple question, Carol. All I asking is tell me the benefit as somebody. Okay.
I'm not obligated to tell you the benefit, Jamila. All I'm saying to you is that's for people to glean and feel that there is benefit as a candidate.
No. I'm talking about. I'm not talking. You see, I'm not talking about that from a candidate. I'm talking. I am going to register to vote. I am a registered independent. Why should I change my registration from independent to Democrat? What benefit does being part of the Democratic Party and have our Virgin Islands be affiliated with the national party bring to the people of the Virgin Islands? And why should I change my registration to reflect that party status?
Well, it's the same, Jamila, I'm going to answer you simply with this, right? When you have people who run under a party banner and they serve in different capacities, right? There's something called a relationships that are built, right? And it just don't happen like that overnight, right? But because we come for, and I use myself as a former senator, okay? When I went to the Senate, right? When I was in the 22nd legislature as its majority leader, I benefited and the people benefited from the fact that 8 members of that majority worked together all the time. We were disciplined like that on the matters that came before us. We would caucus and we determined how we would move with the ability to be able to explain individual positions and concerns. That's the benefit that we're able to do those kinds of things. Okay. Not as an independent without having the benefits of conferring with people with like-minded philosophies. That's all.
So you can't. There are members of Congress who are independent and they caucus with the Democrats. I mean, yeah. or they caucus with the Republicans. But okay, your answer is your answer. That's fine. Yeah, your answer is your answer. Your answer is your answer. So we good.
Jamila, one of these days, I don't know what happen right now. But give me after the affair.
You can come up. You custom to come. You going on like you don't. You going on like you don't come.
No. I told you I was busy. I'm very busy.
Oh, you going on like you don't come. Okay.
No. I'll come up.
Okay.
And I know who you're gonna pass the baton to, but I just want them to be as astute and as vocal as you. That's what I ask. That you look for those qualities.
All right. Okay.
I'll come up after the upstairs.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Bye-bye. So I want to thank Carol Buck, the territorial chair of the Democratic Party, for calling in. You guys, for some reason, and that's another thing, moving into 2026, I'm going to have somebody up here with me so that I can see some of the live comments, because what happens is I don't get to see them in real time, and then it'll just say like somebody's watching, and then your comments gone. But if you have my number, you can continue to text me, and I'll try to ask the questions that's prompted. Well, matter solved. We're gonna have open primaries in the Virgin Islands. Touch out. Good morning.
Yes, how are you today?
I'm good.
Good. A couple of things. I want to agree with my good sister Carol, because I don't know how she do it, because it has to be very hard to try to get dominant Democrats of 70 years, 60 and 70 years to look at any change to incorporate everybody. So I know our job ain't easy. Anyway, that said, since you, Jamila, the Russell was, can't remember whether you changed your registration or not.
No, I'm going to change it. No, I'm going to change it before the primary.
I thought you said you had changed.
No, me change it yet. I had to verify. It still says independent, but I'm going to change it because I'm going to vote in the primary. And everybody who's registered independent, just switch it, because right after the primary, you could switch it back to independent before the general.
Exactly, and that has been the strategy of the ICM party when we wanted to lick down some of them, like the Stacey who are coming now, I need to go sit down. You see? But I don't know. With regards to something else you are talking about, with regards to the situation with the lady building the planter there in Christiansted, and she been from Jamaica, from wherever else.
I didn't say nobody from no place, I just use an island.
I'm saying it.
Oh, okay. Mina say nobody bought paper, so mina know where nobody come from. Okay.
Okay.
I know where my bought paper said. My bought paper says St. Croix. Go ahead.
Mine on said Cuba. The point I'm trying to make is that in those countries, and I could speak for myself, because one time I had a wifey from St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and I bought some land in St. Kitts, or hometown, because I had a good price at it, but I had to buy in Sheenane. She left my tail and she left with my land stuff, but that's okay. So the point I'm trying to make, the Virgin Islands law are too loose and give away tail. Yeah. Everybody got more rights than Native, Jamila, Carol, and me. But we have to check those things, because with the kind of the guava crap I see, say they're running for the highest office in the land, that is to continue the foolishness. So we really gonna have to, and I join you with asking all independents to change the registration in the primary and make sure Stacey, none of them dead do not get in government house. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, bye-bye. Yeah, so Carol Box says she's gonna come up after fair. So we're gonna look forward to that. I want to talk about something, because while I have to take this call, but I need to talk. No, I think that is who this is. Let me see. Good morning.
Oh, disregard. That's a ring back. Disregard.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Me know what you calling me back for. The government of the Virgin Islands. While I was aware, I read a story. I want to give credit to where I saw the story. It was on the Source, and there was an article on the Source. Y'all know I like to read the articles. So let me see. Virgin Islands Source. Virgin Islands. If I could see. VISource.com. Bop, bop. visource.com, right? And man, so there was a story about where is it, man? The source does get me vex, you know. Sometimes it'll take too long to find the story. Yeah, I have to go back to find it. But anyways, there was a story about a public hearing that was held in St. Thomas in the let me see if I find it this other way. Residents let me see. Residents say no. Wait, Jamila, your fingers are so fat. Somebody need to invent a phone keyboard that have enough space so people with fat fingers could type. Residents say no to housing camp on St. Thomas. Let me see. Lad. Okay. Yeah, look at here. Who is calling me on audio? Okay, I find it. It was on December 30th. Residents oppose plan on possible workforce man camp rezoning in estate Bacaro, right? A developer's bid to rezone land above the Western Beach Resort and Spa at Frenchman's Reef in estate Bacaro and St. Thomas for dense workforce housing drew sharp opposition Monday during a public hearing, with neighbors warning the project would permanently alter a quiet residential area already strained by hotel traffic. Sweetgrass Valley Properties LLC is asking the Virgin Islands Department of Planning and Natural Resources to change several parcels from R1 low density to R3, a medium density zone that allows multifamily and taller buildings. The company's initial plan is a dorm-style compound to house hundreds of off-island workers for federally funded disaster recovery projects. The proposal centers on parcels 168 and a portion of 161-4 on the hillside above the resort. Site plan shows 15 modular housing buildings with about 30 single occupancy room each, space for roughly 450 workers. The applicant lists parking for about 257 spaces. Okay. Again, another situation where we don't cut off our nose to spite our face. In December or late November, the governor of the Virgin Islands had the proposal to the Hotel Development Act. The legislature went through this whole rigmarole to create a mechanism in which after X amount of years for a development in the territory, the government then becomes the owners of the properties done by Frenchman's Reef, right? Why is DPNR even entertaining a zoning request change that is out of compliance with our comprehensive land and water use plan? We just spend money to develop a comprehensive land and water use plan, and that isn't mentioned in the comprehensive land and water use plan in that particular area. The government has just spent money, we spend the money. Let me take that back because people are gonna run with it. We didn't spend any money. The government has, allowed Frenchman's Reef to invest and to do their financial maneuvering. And after 30 years, the government is going to own the Frenchman's Reef property. Why would we allow somebody to come to build a tenement yard right next to the hotel, devaluing the hotel, moving the hotel from being a luxury resort that has just nice residential home to having a man camp with a whole bunch of drunken people coming in every night, making a whole heap of noise when we're trying to have a luxury resort? That make any sense? I mean, we just do things that don't make any sense. And we need to stop allowing people to purchase large swaths of residential land and then come up with all of these great things that they want to do with residential property and change all of the zonings that's incongruent with our comprehensive land and water use plan and the development, the overall development of our islands. And trying to say, oh, we need housing for off-island workers. We just came back from Mississippi. Mississippi is still doing Hurricane Katrina projects. You know, they're still doing it. We're not going to have everything built overnight. We're not going to get all of this influx of workers coming here to the territory. It makes no sense. You know, nobody, what are we going to pay them? 3 times the amount that they're getting paid in their home state? There's construction all across the United States that's occurring. There's construction in Puerto Rico that's occurring. Do you really think that so many people are going to come to the Virgin Islands that our salary is so much higher? In order for us to attract them, we're going to have to be providing rates that are substantially larger than what they're getting in their home states, or from being able to drive from New Orleans down to Biloxi to do the work. I mean, we need to pick sense out of nonsense, and people don't want to come and destroy. And after you create this tenement yard and the workers gone back, you have an eyesore for the people in Bacaro, in St. Thomas, and the people who come in to our 5-star hotel, which is supposed to generate revenue, which the government has now created a mechanism for hotel development in St. Thomas to be able to and we're going to be able to own in 30 years. You're now developing an eyesore there. You know, you ain't even talking about providing low-income housing for our residents, for our Virgin Islanders. Everybody is about making money for themselves. So whoever Sweet Valley Grass is, or Sweet Grass Valley, or whatever the name is, they don't have any concern about helping the residents in St. Thomas become homeowners. All they're worried about is being able to get all of this FEMA money. I don't see is a bunch of scam companies coming up here. I'm not saying that company is one of them, but a bunch of companies coming up here to provide services using government land to then have people lay down their their tools and equipment. If that is the case, then let the government have property licking dog all over. Have the government give the contractor for the hospital. You use this area and you put a modular man camp on site and reduce the cost, thereby reducing the cost of the overall bill for the government. Why are we allowing somebody else to go bill it? Now the contractor have to pay that person, and if you're billing it, you're going to want a profit, and that profit is going to be built into the contractor. Instead of saying, here contractor, here is the land. The government have land. You figure out how to put your modular here for you to bring your workers. And when it's done, you pick up your trailer them and you go on with it. I tell you, they like to come with all of these harebrained schemes, and fool might be talking, but ain't fools listening. And I may be a lot of things, and I might be foolish in a lot of arenas, but I'm not foolish when it comes to this. They're fleecing the Virgin Islands. We have people coming down, leasing our government property to then sublease it to people who have contracts to build in our territory. The madness has to stop. It has to stop. All of these projects are 428 projects. I think that's the right terminology for it. If you have a savings, we get to keep the savings. But it's like, Jesus Christ, if they give you $1 million, it's like we want to spend $1,000,001. We're not trying to say, how can we do it for 800,000 and let me keep this 200,000, because then instead of I could pave this additional road because I save money on this building. None of them looking at these projects as how can we save so that we could keep some of the money, because we're not going to get this kind of money again in our lifetime, hopefully, because nobody wants this kind of storm. And even if you have the kind of storm, FEMA isn't going to give out the kind of money that it's been traditionally giving out, right? So nobody's thinking about how we could save money on some of these projects. I can't be the only one. I know you're not the only ones thinking about it. And me and you can't be the only people thinking about it, and we have to stop the madness. But see, when you're friends with people, you don't let people get away with things. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. And then they put it in front. Oh, we need housing. No, if you need housing, let the Benton construction, let the consigliere construction, let the Vivos, let whoever win the contract put up their own modular spaces for their workers so that they can get their contract done. And it done. All right? Too much tomfoolery going on wrong here. Too much. And every time I read it, I'm going to call it out. So whoever these people is, you can't bring them from the neighboring island. Oh, you can't bring them. You forget we have that visa issue here, buddy. There's a whole different kind of immigration status here. Okay, so apparently, see why I have to love my listening audience? My listening audience tell me, but see, my listening audience tell me my phone have a stylus. Okay, so my phone does have a little pen, but then sweetheart, I had to buy a pen. This is my third pen. I don't lose two of them already using this. And then I don't forget to put it back in the hole, and then I can't use the phone unless it has a pen, because then it'll have like a little mark that show you that the pen is gone, and my whatever it is that be going on with me don't allow me to use the phone with this flaw. So I've had to buy. This is the third one I buy. See how so maybe I should guess some of them. You know how people give you pens with the eraser, the stylus thing to the end? I think I have one from Kenny Gittins and one from Novelle Francis with the styly thingy on the end. I'm gonna walk with those. Senator Gittins, can you please bring me 2 more pens? And Senator Francis, Monday, please. Let me beg them publicly. So somebody call Senator Gittins' own is a good one. He have the good pen. So call Senator Gittins and tell you I need one of his good pen with a eraser thing to the bottom so I could use as a stylus. Thank you. All right. But it's foolishness. We need to stop. We need to stop. It says without sufficient housing capacity, contractors will be unable to staff projects adequately. Well, when they bid on the job, they know they need workers, and they know that we had a housing shortage. So in their brains, they should have been figuring out how they were going to build man camp on site so that the workers don't be late, right? Yeah, that every work site should have a man camp. So if you have 100 people on this site, you build your little miniature man camp for them, and down the road we go. Or James Benton, the Mr. Consigliere, people, Patrick Vivo, who else? Sean Baptiste. Sean get any big contracts to build anything? Y'all go to the government and tell them y'all need a site, and y'all could put it out. I don't know about in St. Thomas, but there are places that you can use, like on St. Croix, we have Old Charles Age School. Clean out Charles Age School and make that a temporary, which is across from a housing project, make that a temporary work site. You put your man them there in the night, you pick them up in the morning and disperse them to the job. There are solutions, and there are solutions that won't drive up the cost of these projects, thereby allowing the Virgin Islands to retain some monies in the coffers by savings on some of these projects. It's like they want to spend every last penny. All right, so I wanted to talk about that. Let me see. I have the only thing I didn't touch on, and in this last 10 minutes on air that I wanted to discuss today with you is, and I think that the leasing of government properties, and that we need to look at how we lease government properties, is the perfect segue into this new update from Island Laundries, because Isabel Tier has given an update story, and you can find that on newsfeed at WTJX.org. And it says, GVI says Island Laundries false claim may impact developer interest in sublease plans in new filing. So for y'all who've been living under a rock, the government of the Virgin Islands tried to evict island laundries from properties in subbase because the governor and Carlton Dow had come up with this idea to swap government properties and give the properties in subbase to under the control of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, because Carlton was supposed to be working on a deal with Royal Caribbean to develop that whole area, which I still have some concerns about, because I want to make sure that Virgin Islanders continue to have access to the port and to the site, and that Royal don't think that they own nothing in the Virgin Islands and like they could tell we what to do. I have a major problem with people telling Virgin Islanders where they could go, where they can't go, and what they could do and what they can't do. I have major problems with that. But you know, for the development of subbase. And so the island laundries had went to court and they were saying like they wasn't paying their subleases, and they went to court and they said that they have a colorable claim, like they could own it, saying like they, like in layman's term, they say we've had the lease so long that the government property should be ours, basically, right? And which is why we have to take a look at all of these leases that we give with automatic renewals. We need to stop doing automatic renewals for government property, because sometimes properties stay with families and for so long that that generations think that they own it, and they don't own it. It's the government of the Virgin Islands that own it. And sometimes when administration and things change, and the recorder of deeds passing change, and the tax assessor and all of them people change, things will slip through the cracks, and then what was once government property get titled over to a private individual's name. Anyways, an eviction dispute between, I'm going to read the story. An eviction dispute between the Virgin Islands government and Island Laundries Limited, a case that WTJX reported has exposed decades of lease violations, uncollected fees, and faulty government oversight through the Department of Property and Procurement, has expanded, continuing to complicate redevelopment plans in the subbase area in St. Thomas. The lawsuit centers on government-owned parcels needed for Virgin Islands Port Authority redevelopment plans for an additional cruise ship berth and a tourist-oriented resort and commercial center in the subbase area. Legislation passed last of these government-owned properties to Viper for the project, including parcel number 164 Submarine Base, one of the parcels caught up in the government's eviction dispute with Island Laundries. The other parcel caught up in dispute, parcel number 116 Submarine Base, was not transferred. The redevelopment is a result of an agreement between Viper and private developers Royal Caribbean Group and Cruise Terminals International. The parties signed this agreement during a public ceremony at the Ascent Bay Monsanto Marine Terminal in Crown Bay on December 17, 2025, the day after the government filed a motion to amend its complaint against Island Laundries. The government motion follows Magistrate Judge Paula Norkaitis' November 2025 ruling, where she transferred the case to the Civil Division after finding that Island Laundries had raised a colorable claim to possession of the property. Norkaitis said the dispute raised too many unanswered questions and required procedures not available to the Magistrate Division. The amended complaint reframes what began as a simple eviction proceeding into a broader civil lawsuit that now include claims for declaratory judgment, recovery of real property, trespass, public nuisance, and slander of title. The government argues that the company's continued wrongful possession of the property stands to interfere with the impending redevelopment of the subbase area on St. Thomas. Island Laundries' false claims have or will cause the government of the Virgin Islands actual pecuniary loss in the form of diminished interest of developers and future tenants, and were intentionally posed to impair the government's anticipated transfer of the premise to the Virgin Islands Port Authority and its anticipated redevelopment of the area in conjunction with private developers, the amended complaint stated. In the amended complaint, the government directly challenges Island Laundries' assertion that it retains an equitable interest in the property based on the improvement it says it made in 1989 under a now expired lease. The government argues that any obligation to reimburse the company for improvement would have arisen when the lease expired in 2014, and that the claim is extinguished because the improvements have long since been fully amortized under accounting and tax rules, meaning title to all improvements has vested fully in the government. The amending complaint also names Leah Webster, president of Island Laundries, and her mother, Lorna Webster, as defendants in the case. Beyond seeking possession, the filing accuses Island Laundries of trespass by remaining on the property after receiving multiple notices to quit, and adds a public nuisance claim, alleging that Island Laundries used toxic solvents in its dry cleaning operations over the years and improperly handled hazardous waste at the site. WTJX previously reported that Island Laundries was cited in 2005 by the EPA for violating federal rules governing the handling, storage, and disposal of hazardous waste following an inspection the agency conducted the year before. In a statement to WTJX, Leah Webster said that on December 12, 2025, the government conducted a special inspection of the entire Island Laundries facility that lasted 8 hours. It is important to know that Island Laundries has not been made aware of any violations, either written or otherwise, requiring abatement as a result of that special inspection, Leah Webster said, adding that there were no issues with any other entity requiring abatement. Island Laundries did not file any kind of response to the government's motion until Thursday, when the company's attorney filed a motion requesting a 10-day extension of time to respond. Last month, Superior Court Judge Denise Francois recused herself from the case on the grounds that Island Laundries was her former client. So there we are, Coco Bay and Tapayas, and this ruling is going to be consequential. And I dare say that I think that the government of the Virgin Islands, through the Department of Property and Procurement, should hit pause on long-term leases until this matter is settled and the case can move forward. There's too many unanswered questions. There's too many places, and you see it in some of these leases that come down, these automatic extensions. Nothing should be automatic in the Virgin Islands. Everything should be reviewed. Fees should be reassessed, and the way that the operations and the rollout, there isn't consistent oversight. There isn't a structure for payment. There isn't a structure for determining who gets government property over who gets government property. It's about if you's my friend, you gonna get, and if you don't know anybody, woe be you. You better just pray and hope that one day somebody get up in a good mood and decide to call you to look at government property. But something needs to be done. A complete assessment has to be done down at the Department of Property and Procurement. And I think that once an audit has been done, you will find that there is more questionable practices that needs to be addressed and fixed, so that there's a quality of standard to protect the interests of the people of the Virgin Islands when it comes to the disposal, sale, rental of government properties. That being said, I don't know how to be anybody but just Jamila, and I happen to like being Jamila, and I want to thank each of you for tuning in. I want to thank all of you for your continued support of this show, this platform, and when I start bringing up the people that I want to pass the baton to, I hope that you afford them the same level of respect and scrutiny that you give me, and that we, you allow us to pass the baton gracefully. That being said, we from the Virgin Islands, and nothing don't ever be serious. It'll be serious, but it'll really be serious. And okay, I think I need to behave because in I really want to say something, but a Jamban mind come to mind, but I won't say it because then y'all gonna say I'm super insensitive. But let's just think about the Jamban song together as we close out. All right. Until next time, I'm Jamila. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Stand up for decency.